I'm Steph Kiihn. I come to cartography through art. You know, I got a degree in fine arts and then a degree in accounting, and life took me other ways. But you know, when I got back to doing art, just not as a career, but as a passion, I ended up making maps, and so I put together a few maps that I want to share with you today. Really, you know, my inspiration is just driving or walking through the neighborhoods of my own town, and like, what did the neighborhood look like before the highway went through it, or what did the creek look like before it was, you know, covered by industry and railroads. And so, you know, my art is trying to visually represent that and give a context to all the changes that we've seen in our, as neighborhoods become further developed and modernized, and really, you know, a better understanding of what has shaped what we see today. So my first drawing that I'll share with you is of the Rondo neighborhood. I don't know if you are familiar with the cities, but we're in Minneapolis, and across the river is St. Paul. It's smaller, but more charming, I believe. I was born there, so I'm a little biased, but I was born in St. Paul, and I grew up there, and I had always heard of Rondo, the Rondo neighborhood, but I never really was able to place it. And so I ended up trying to answer, you know, where was Rondo, what was Rondo, through a map. And you can see this here. Let's see. So first of all, what you need to know about Rondo is that it was the thriving center of St. Paul's Black community. It was one of the few neighborhoods that didn't have any racial covenants. And so Black people could own real estate. That's a big deal. I think we've all heard of the redlining and everything. This was one of the few areas in the Twin Cities where Black people could own property. And in the answer from the city of St. Paul was that in 1950 and 1960, they decided to put a highway right through the neighborhood. And families were displaced, businesses, social clubs, community centers. It was all totally thrown upside down. So I know that's a lot of visual image to look at from that scale, so I have some details. This first is at the top, you can see the detail from the drawing. And then down below are my inspiration, my sources. You can see the 1916 plat map where the streets between St. Anthony and Rondo show homes and businesses, and then next to that is the property tax map where the freeway went right through. You know, essentially just the heart and soul of the neighborhood just removed so that we can all drive back and forth between Minneapolis and St. Paul. Let's see, so one of my, I guess one of the things that I like most about maps are the little drawings, you know, that you think about historical maps, and there's all the, you know, monsters in the ocean and that sort of thing. So I've really tried to use that as a method to explain the story of what has happened in the neighborhoods. And so I call them medallions, little circles with the pictures. One of my main inspirations for this map was a novel by Evelyn Fairbanks. She grew up in the Rondo neighborhood, and she wrote a story of that time from her personal recollections. And it was interesting, you know, she talks about the shops and schools and churches before the community was destroyed. She also talks about, how it felt afterwards. So if you see the map in the left-hand corner, there's a red box around one of the houses, and that's where she lived. And she talked, later about how it felt to, be driving down 94 and know that her house was, she's driving right past it, or, right on top of it. And that really, it strikes me every time I'm driving along 94 then. So I chose a photo of her at the age of 19 for this picture. She's standing in front of her home, and she's just graduated from high school and has the world ahead of her. And so it's sweet. So the next medallion that I want to share with you is of John Q. Adams and his wife Ellie B. Adams in front of their home. John Q. Adams was an editor of a black-owned newspaper. It was one of the most successful black-owned newspapers in the U.S. From 1885 to 1924. It was published in 6 cities. And, this was really groundbreaking because it gave black politicians a forum, black writers and artists an audience, and black businesses a media for their advertisement. So another medallion was of the Credifon Co-op store. And this was, so the Credifon Social Club was a group of community members that got together to create what wasn't provided for them. They did create a co-op grocery store, but also, my accounting background was like, ooh, a credit union. So they they provided low-interest loans to club members. So, we've all heard about redlining and how there were, who got mortgages was limited. And so the Credifon Credit Union was, allowing black people or was financing black people's purchases of these homes. So it really further establishes just what a unusual place this neighborhood was before it was destroyed. So next map I'll share with you is of Phalen Creek and Trout Brook. This is a little, I have to stop touching things. So this is a ravine that's just to the side of downtown St. Paul, and you can see in the 1884 map that I have on the left-hand side that there used to be a creek that ran into the Mississippi River, and the 2019 property tax map shows that it's there's not much of a creek there now. They filled in the creek and rerouted it through sewers, mostly to allow for the railroads to move in and take over the property. Why I thought that this was so interesting is that I had heard of Sweet Hollow, which is what the park there is called, as where the Europeans came and settled first in Minnesota. There was shelter from the wind and fresh water, but as the city grew, the ravine remained undeveloped, so that waves of immigrants would get off the trains and walk their way up into the ravine and try to start a life in the U.S. Let's see, so another book that I found inspirational was Ola Larsmo's Sweet Hollow. They really talk about that effort, beginning in the 1880s of the Swedes coming in and making a life there. To take a step back, long before the Europeans, the Dakotans recognized a cave that is located right where the creek used to meet the Mississippi as a religious site called Wakan Tipi. And when, of course, the community knows it as Carver's Cave because Carver was the guy who came and learned this, European person who found the cave first. Mid-1800s, the Dakotans were pushed out and railroads demolished the whole front of the cave. The neighborhoods threw their trash into the area, and so it was a focus of a lot of restorative efforts in the past 10, 20 years. And Jim Rock is one of the individuals who was instrumental in that restoration effort. So let's see, I have a few more pictures. All right. And then last detail of Phalen Creek is Lincoln School in Mini Tifar. I thought this was interesting since, I've driven past this. You can see the bottom left has a big brick wall. I've driven past that a lot, wondering why is there this like really old wall and an apartment complex on top from 1987. And doing research, turns out there was a school where all the immigrant kids would be sent there to get a start. I happened to learn that one of the teachers there was one of the first black teachers in Minnesota, but she was also the first black person to graduate from high school in St. Paul, and she actually graduated from my alma mater, which was weird. It made me really, come full circle about how much I don't know about the community that I've lived in for so long. And so to wrap things up, I think that history can seem really remote, and maps allow an audience to find points of reference. It's a very small neighborhood focus, but if you can find your home or your workplace on this map and then get a sense of the breadth and scope of what's happened, who's formed the neighborhood, and who's destroyed the neighborhood, it gives you a better sense of context. And so I think that's where I will leave it for the sake of time. So thank you so much for your attention.